All right, let's unpack this single French roll mix-up a little bit. Little disclaimer about the title. I know it says single slash French, which might imply that the single roll is the same thing as the French roll, but it is not. So single stroke rolls and French rolls are two different things, so sorry about the title. However, with the drag rough mix-up, it is drag slash rough because those are almost interchangeable. So just wanted to clear that up. All right. So for the first half of this thing, the bass drums are playing the same rhythms as the snares and tenors. I didn't really see a way to easily, kind of write that differently. And most folks most bass drummers have a tendency to single stroke their double stroke rolls anyway. So I figure there's not much of a difference there. So y'all are all just playing the same thing. The rule for the first two lines is that once you lift the hands for the initial attack, that the hands are not held down at any point until line 3 for the bass drums. For the snares and tenors, line 3 and 4 are still not controlled down. So the tendency is going to be to try to control these eighth notes down, so to control the sticks down in that eighth note space before the next triplet, but you should not do that. So you might want to just pause it, practice playing those 4-note groupings, rebounding everything and letting the release continue to rebound up, and then try it on the single stroke 7s as well. And make sure you're starting on the right and the left when you do this. So talking about naming these single stroke rudiments, it's kind of the same as the double stroke, where you literally count each note within the grouping. So even though these are triplets, you actually refer to the rudiments in the first two measures as single stroke 4s, because they are 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's just play that first measure and really focus on, after you come up for the initial attack, rebounding everything. We'll do classic 80 beats a minute. Good to go. Go ahead and end up as well. Okay, and something else that I want you to notice in this one is if you're playing down on a pad and you're not playing it on an actual bass drum, your hands should be at about your hip, like just in forward of your hip, and maybe even outside, so probably more in line with the shoulders than the hip. And when you play these notes, when you rebound up, there should be about a stick length in between the beads in those pauses. So that's about, probably the distance from one shoulder to the next is about a stick length. So if you're looking in a mirror when you practice, which I hope all of you are, you should just kind of imagine, look at your stick and see if it looks like you could fit another one right in between, and you're probably about right. Maybe just inside that, but so you don't need to play out, this kind of weird stuff or anything. But just make sure that your beads are coming above where your hand typically is. Too often there's a tendency to take this angle, straighten it out, and then when you do that, you're digga-digga, and when you bring it up, there's only a couple of inches there. So that could be an indication that you need to either bring your hands out and or that you need to increase that angle there. All right. So Now let's play the second measure, which is the same as the first. You're just leading with the left hand on the single strokes, and they start on the upbeat. Then good to get down. Sorry, and up. 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and now let's try to play bars 1 and 2 together. Okay, so where we just released right there is actually in the middle of a rudiment called a single stroke 7. And I know that the next chain of single stroke 7s are 6 sextuplets, but again, you count all 6 of those notes plus the release. And so that makes 7. So I do also want to point out that the single stroke 7s alternate. So the single stroke 4s stay on the same hand. Right, 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 left, left. Okay, but the single stroke 7s go from right to left. So digga 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 right, left, left, digga 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 right. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. So let's play the third measure, but start on the pickup 8th note triplet. All right, so what was I going to point out? Oh, another way you can think about the sticking, if the whole whether it alternates or not rules kind of don't click with you, every single note in the top line alternates. So if the last note you played was a right, then the next note you play is going to be a left. So kind of similar to the double stroke roll mix-up where the entire thing alternates and you just add doubles. This one, the top line, it's all alternating. Okay, so it should feel relatively natural for most of you. Another way you can think about it is if you're starting a triplet on the downbeat, it starts with the right hand, and if you're starting a triplet on the upbeat, it starts with the left hand. And that rule applies even within a 7-stroke single 7-stroke. So now let's play measure 4. Start just on measure 4. Sorry, let's try that again. Okay, so notice it might look a little funny, but in those 8th notes, I do still want you all to rebound. Typically, we would not rebound those notes, but I find that it just makes this particular exercise and line easier to clean and get everybody moving the same way if we just apply a blanket movement thing. And it gets you out of your comfort zone a little bit, which I think is generally a good thing. So we're going to rebound those notes just to ensure that everybody has the ability to do that and that we're not just doing necessarily what feels good, but that we are taking control of knowledge of where our beads are and making them do what we want them to. So, all right, now let's play measure 3 and 4 together, starting on the 8th note triplet pickup. Okay, so now let's go back and play the first two measures just to review. Okay, so now let's try to play all four measures. Alrighty, so notice I'm not holding anything down, I'm letting everything rebound. Everything is loud, however, I'm not pumping my arms for every single note. So you only want to actually lift the hands for the first attack. Zagadagum. And then after you play those first two notes, you rebound the sticks into the up position, but you leave your hands down. So you raise, and everything else is the hands are down. Okay, so don't be tempted to raise the hand for all of these notes. That's what we call puppet drumming, where it looks like you've just got a string attached and somebody's above you doing this whole thing and you're drumming like this. So we want to actually turn the hand with the wrist and leave the hand down and lead with the bead. So you just do that molar lift, and then everything else is lead with the bead. All right, now for the second line. These are actual French rolls. So French roll is basically just threes on a hand. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Typically we don't number these rolls. We'll just refer to it as a French roll, and most people these days don't even know that they're called French rolls. You'll typically just hear these referred to as threes. So 3, 3, 3, 3, bam. So we don't really number them, although I guess if you had to, you could say this is a French 4, and then French 4 starting with the left, and then French 7s or something, but I'm never going to refer to them as that. I'll just say those French rolls. So it's the same exact rhythmic structure as the first line. Just every down beat you're going to start with a right hand 3, and every up beat, if it's a 3, you're going to start with a left hand. So let's play that first measure of the second line. Okay, and some things to point out that people usually do incorrectly is either you'll pulse the 3, so making that loud, or vice versa. You might have the 3 be low and the 8th notes be high. So you want to aim for a consistent sound. So you might need to lighten up the touch on the 8th note in between the triplets so that it doesn't come across as harsh. And some other things that happen is instead of it being a smooth triplet rhythm, you'll get something like a... and in which case you're trying to force the accent down a little too hard in the hand that is trying to produce the 3. Instead of thinking of a lift of the hand and using weight of the arm to produce the stroke instead of speed of the stick. So you need to think more weight with the arm to produce that force rather than speeding the stick up and playing a harsh accent. So this, as opposed to Another thing that might be happening there is there could be extra space somewhere in your hand. So you always kind of want to have your fingers not so tight that you're just squeezing the stick, but you need to have them close to the rest of your hand. So if you're flailing out with your fingers and gripping in the front of the stick when you're trying to do these threes, then that space there is going to allow, when you come down to start the three, the stick's going to hit, and then if there's space there, then the stick is going to bounce back up, therefore taking a little bit more time to come down and hit on the second note of the three. So that's what causes that gap in space of time, right? So instead of where I've got my fingers close, it turns into, right? Because the stick has to go up and then come back down. So what you want to do is make sure that you've got a firm grip on the sticks, but not squeezing the stick. We never really want to squeeze the stick. You just want to make sure that there's no extra space in the fingers or the hand. If you leave your fingers there, the stick will not have anywhere to go inside of the hand, and you'll be in much more control of the stick without squeezing it. Okay, so just eliminate extra space and try to make sure that you're gripping in the middle or back of the stick and not in the front of the stick for these threes. Okay, so a lot of just technical babble there. Hopefully some of you got something out of it. So now let's play the second measure of the second line. And something else that I should say is you'll notice on the threes that it has an accent, a tenuto, and then a staccato. So that just means that we are accepting the natural decay of the stick. So what I'm doing right now is actually not what's written. I'm trying to get an even sound all the way across the three. However, most of you are not going to even be able to attempt that. So if you have a delay in terms of loud and soft, a decay, then that is totally fine, and we embrace that. So you can have a instead of, make sense? So that way you can hopefully relax a little bit and just allow that stick to come down. Over time, as you get these French rolls faster, and you build some more muscle and everything, then you're going to want to try to increase that sound quality of the three to where it's more even. But if you get this, that's totally fine. So now let's play the first two measures of the second line together. Okay, and now let's play the third measure of the second line with the pickup. Okay, and now let's play the fourth measure of the second line. Okay, so something that I played correctly the last time that I didn't, that second to last time, was the last two eighth notes of line 2. should rebound to a middle height. So notice that the next notes, instead of being full accents, are tenutos. So those last eighth notes in line 2 will come from full accent height to halfway. So bum, 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 bum. So you're going to end slightly lower than you've been playing that entire line. Let's play the last, let's play measures 7 and 8, or the last 2 measures in line 2. With the pickup. Okay, so as those last eighth notes are controlled somewhat down, you'll just want to make sure that you don't get a harsh sound on them, and you know, so you don't want to get that. You're just nice and lazy with it. Yeah, let's try that whole line. It's line 2. Okay, so now let's try to play lines 1 and 2 together. I'm fairly certain that what I just did was played French rolls through the whole thing, so I apologize for that if that threw you off. Remember, there is such thing as the pause button and the rewind button and all that, so if you need to stop, work some things out, maybe for a week, maybe for a month, you know, whatever. Just watch the whole video, but, you know, be working on these things and then come back and try to play them along with me through this thing. So these videos aren't very long, so you should be able to just come back and watch it and have a good time. So, okay. So line 3 is where it gets pretty dense for the snares and tenors, and here's where I back you guys off to playing half the speed as the snares and tenors, as is the case with the other mix-ups. So here's where we separate on this one. So these are the next 2 measures are single stroke 5s. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that 1 by itself at the beginning of that second measure is a tap. So I guess you would call the first 2 single stroke 5s, and then the next 2 would be tap single stroke 5s, technically. So let's play both of those measures together. Remember that they alternate. So you'll go right, left, 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 right. Okay. And we should actually be ending not with an accent, but with a tenuto. So I apologize. Both of those times I ended with a full accent. So not much to say about this that I haven't already. Just ensure that you're playing the correct sticking. Make sure that your tenutos are beefy, but they're not as big as the accent. So we don't want it. And yeah, so nice and medium. Big. Big, big. Okay, and in between these you can control them down. So probably just doing naturally what you want to do anyway. So let's play it another couple times. Just look out for the height difference, beefy and full accent, and control down in between, and alternate all of it. End with the tenuto this time. Ready, play. Okay. All right, so now let's play the rest. Let's play the next two measures. The same rules apply as the two measures we just did. On the last eighth notes, you can control both of those down. So unlike the eighth notes at the end of the top line where we're trying to rebound those, we can hold these down. So yeah, just probably do more what your body would naturally want to do anyway. So let's start on these last two measures. Okay, we got that. By the way, the rudiments on the last line there, it starts with a single 9 because we have to count the pickup as part of that. It's a continuance. So that's continuance of the single stroke 9. We got another single stroke 9, and then another single stroke 9, and then a couple notes. So backing up on the third line, you've got a single 5, a single 5, a tap single 5 into a 9, a 9, a 9, and a couple notes. And all those are singles. So let us play the last 4 measures all together. Okay, so let's try to just play the whole thing now. Actually, I'm going to stop it and we're going to save that for the run-through video. So I don't really have anything else to say about this mix-up.